Welcome back to the Full Court Press Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Joyner, and joined as always by Ben. How you doing, Ben?
There it is. I'm good, man. A little technical difficulties starting off, but hopefully it's not as laggy this time. So far, so good.
Yeah, it's still a little laggy there, but yeah.
I'll just talk really slow and then let you respond.
Yeah, we can give it a shot and see how far we can get in this thing.
Okay. Yeah, if it gets too bad, we can try something else.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. I think we have a good show for you today. I think we're gonna do a little bit of like a Q&A. We have 7 questions lined up, mostly brought to us by Ben. That was great. Some of the great questions that you sent over. And then two questions towards the end if we get there by once again my wife, who I don't know where she comes up with these questions, but
Man,
good
she's
for
just
her.
got a bag full of
She's
them. I love it.
she's an inquisitive mind.
Yeah.
She just comes out of nowhere. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, we can kick it off. Do you want to go over the first question?
Yeah, let's get after it. Let me see. All right, so kind of staying pretty relevant, but what are the Warriors going to do without Jimmy Buckets? Out for the rest of the season and probably a good chunk of next season.
In my opinion, they're gonna lose a lot. I don't think they. I mean, unless they make a trade or something. Like, I think that they're now. I mean, right now they're sitting eighth, I think, or seventh, I think. But they're only 3 games back from like the Mavs, who are now like I think they're 11th. So I just don't know where they get. I mean, Steph scores 38 points yesterday, has a great game, but they lose to Dallas, and so it's like I just don't see. I don't. I mean, and Dallas is a different case because the only thing that Dallas is good at is getting to the rim, and and that's
Yeah.
their weakness is players. They allow a lot of points at the rim because they don't have shot blocking and they don't have any interior presence. So I think that maybe it was maybe a matchup thing, but um, I think it's a huge loss for them. He's been their second best player. I mean, Steph's obviously awesome, but it's like a 1A, 1B situation, and he's been playing great. He was playing great for them before going down. So I have to see. I'm interested to see if they're loyal to him or not. I wonder if they'll try to package him, try to send him off somewhere.
Yeah, it sounds like they're trying to look at it at least at the very least consider what a trade looks like. I highly doubt they'll move him, but just have to explore that option because they don't really have any other options unless they're able to draft somebody highly, depending on how they finish up the year. So, I mean, Kaminga is kind of the quick step in type guy, but he just went down with an injury, and who knows? They've been having some drama trying to trade him anyways. So I feel like they're just going to have to make do
Yeah.
with what they've got. But are there any guys that they have currently that you're interested in, not only from a team success standpoint, but fantasy wise as well?
I mean, I was really in on Kaminga, as long as they have him. Even even if he's even if he gets traded, I'm really in on him because he's only going to get traded to a team that wants to showcase him. Because his contract is a little weird. It's like he he has a partially guaranteed deal for next year, but you can just almost make him a free agent next year. So he could be a rental. So it's like for the last couple months of the season, a team can just run him and see what he's got. Um, or if now that Jimmy's out, he's almost their second best scorer on the team. I mean, it probably is. So they're gonna play him a lot right in the Jimmy Butler role. So I'm really high on Kaminga now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I mean, I don't think his injury is anything major, but said maybe a hyperextension or something. So probably at the very least, a day
I
or
think it's
two.
just
But then
ankle sprain.
you think so?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's from what I looked at. I mean, I watched the game, so I think he just stepped on I think it was Max Christie's foot or something, and it just turned, and so
Yeah. So he'll probably be okay. I would say the next couple days, maybe he'll get a little rest, but we'll see if
yeah,
they try to trade him or not. But any of the other guards that, you got Moody, you've got Pajemski, you've got, uh, Gary Payton the second, a couple other guys that contribute for them, but nobody else.
Yeah. Um, I mean, Pajimski, I guess, is a guy they could look to. He gets the ball a lot of usage, especially because Steph Curry is such an off ball threat that he almost is like their point guard, even though he's not really a point guard. But like, I think he's somebody to look out for. Um, I don't know why they don't play Quentin Post more. I think he
Mm-hmm.
gives them a look that they don't have. I like his 3 point shooting, but I just don't watch enough Warriors games to be honest to know why they don't play him as much as they should. Um, but I just don't. I'm not really high on the roster in general. I don't. That's a lot of mismatch. Maybe Buddy Hield. I guess now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more,
Yeah,
I think they could turn to him to score, pick up the scoring load that Jimmy Butler is gonna drop. Because you don't have him. But yeah, that's kind of where I land on the roster.
yeah. And Hield's had a couple good games in the last couple right after Butler's injury, so I could see him continuing to step up a little bit, especially if Kaminga's gone. So they're going to have big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think they're going to make any sort of playoff run without somebody stepping up. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, you gotta look for my man Pat Spencer, the
it's your
mustache.
it's your other Spencer brother. You love the Spencer brothers.
Yeah, I got one of them on my team. Cam's killing it right now.
Yeah, yeah. You might have to have both Spencers at some point. We'll see.
Maybe. Um, but yeah, I mean, do you have anybody? I mean, anybody? Gary Payton is just such a glue guy that he doesn't do anything. Draymond, do you think Draymond's a bigger factor now?
I do. I think we've already seen him get a little bit more usage the last couple games, but it really just depends on if they want to go big or small. I don't feel like they have great options either way, but I'd like to see more Al Horford, Draymond, Post, kind of them go a little bit bigger, kind of keep their guards fresh. And, you know, I think those guys have a little bit more potential to score than some of their guards do outside of Pajemski. And, if Field gets hot, he always has the opportunity to put up some big numbers, but they're just less consistent than, Steph and Draymond have been playing together for years. And the more that they could maximize that, mismatch opens up some shooting for them. So I don't really see big gains anywhere for anyone in particular. It'll just kind of be across the board, a couple minutes for each role player that they have, and until somebody pops. And if anybody pops, I'm not sure that anybody will. But I think Kaminga had probably the highest potential to do that. But unless they start giving more minutes to some of their big guys, it's probably just going to be a couple minutes here and there for everybody, and just play the hot hand like Steve Kerr likes to do.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I just don't. Not nobody on that roster. I'm looking to roster on my fantasy team. I mean, not that not other than the normal guys. I mean, I think Buddy Hield's worth rostering just because he gets hot sometimes, like we talked about, and I don't know anybody who's rostering pods. He's just so up and down. He'll have one game where he has like 35 fantasy points, and the next game he'll have two. So it's just like
Yeah,
not worth it if you're going into playoff season now, kind of getting towards the end of the towards the end of the season. Um, I don't know. Rosters are kind of solidified at this point.
yeah, yeah. So it sounds like, generally speaking, the Warriors are relatively cooked moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great segue.
Oh, it's like I planned it.
Yeah, we're gonna segue into question number two. Another team who just lost to the Dallas Mavericks um, in blowout fashion, really,
Yeah,
are the Knicks cooked?
yeah,
Do you think they
absolutely.
are?
I well, I don't think they're absolutely cooked, but currently their roster looks just terrible. I mean, there's no chemistry. Nobody's playing well across the board. Like, all their stars are a little bit banged up, so they've been in and out, and just getting consistency out of anybody seems to be really tough. I mean, even Brunson, who's generally kind of their one consistent guy, and maybe Towns too, but both of them have just been kind of up and down, and the rest of them have been in and out with injuries too. So you're not seeing a lot of greatness from Hart. OG's been kind of up and down as well. So across the board, it's just there's not a lot of depth behind them to begin with, but when you put those guys in because the other guys are struggling, that's why you're getting these blowouts to teams like the Mavericks that really shouldn't be blowing them out or even winning.
Yeah, I mean for sure. I think I don't think this team is cooked. Like I think they're still a top three Eastern team, maybe they're top four, but like I think they're still top three. Um, I just I just don't know. Everybody gave Tom Thibodeau a lot of grief for his in the past he's been this way where he only plays like six guys and like he just runs them into the ground.
Yeah.
But looking at this roster this year, like what was he supposed to do? Their bench is bad, and so like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you supposed are is media asking Tom Thibodeau last year to play more Tyler Kolek? Like what's he gonna do for your team? Like, yeah, he's a good, decent passer and stuff, and like whatever, but he's not moving any needles. So I think this roster is just not built very well. I think they've exhausted, and the problem with them is also they've exhausted all their assets. They gave 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
and then it's just what were you expecting?
Yeah.
What are you gonna
That
do with that team?
that's true. I mean, thinking about that 5 first round picks is kind of crazy, especially the way that the Paul George, 4 first round picks and Rudy Gobert too, but they just have not
Yeah,
aged very well. So that's wow, I kind of forgot about that for a minute.
yeah. I mean, it's a disaster over there. They have no way of building anything. And so there's rumors now where right after the Mavs game, rumors come out that like, oh, they may look to trade Towns. It's like
Hmm.
I, he's their number one scoring option right now because Brunson's hurt. He's still hurt. I'm convinced he was rushed back from his ankle injury. I think he's still hurt. Um, you lose Towns, and then what? I mean, it depends on what you get back, I guess. But I don't know what you're. I don't know where they go.
Yeah, I think their best option is to figure it out with what they got, which, like you said, I do still think they're probably a top 3 team in the East. It's just a matter of can they, play defense together? They have been struggling on that end. And can they score consistently? Because they'll have guys that get hot, like Brunson or Towns, or, occasionally somebody else will step up and score in the 20s. But beyond that, it's just a lack of consistency. And then their bench play, like you highlighted, there's just nobody that comes in that you're afraid of. You've got Mitchell Robinson, you've got Tyler Kolek. I mean, Landry Shamet's getting minutes. Like it's just not a roster that's in any way prepared for a deep playoff run unless they figure out their issues right now. Which thankfully they've still got plenty of time. They've got at least almost 3, but more like 2.5 months to figure it out before the playoffs come. And it's not like anybody in the East is really making a big push right now, anyways. So might as well get those wrinkles out now. And sounds like with the players only meetings they're having and things, they're trying to figure it out. It's going to take a little bit of time. And, if anything, it may help them in the long run, or we'll see in the next probably couple weeks that they just fall off a cliff or something, is what I'd imagine. But I think they'll figure it out.
I think they'll figure something out to make them playoff relevant. I think they'll, the top end of this roster is too good. I mean, Brunson, Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Towns, and then Mitchell Robinson, and then you throw in Hart there or whatever. But like that top four is solid. I mean, solid defense. You get great. You get one of the best two-way players in the whole NBA, Anunoby, and he's gonna lock up anybody. And then
Hmm.
you have Josh Hart who can guard you, who's your best point of attack defender. Mikal Bridges, who another top flight 3 and D like or two way player. And then I don't know why they don't play Mitchell Robinson as much. I guess maybe they're trying to protect him from fouls or from getting fouled. I guess maybe
I
like
don't
he
think,
can't hit a free throw to save his life. But
yeah, I don't think you can protect him from fouls because he gets about
I don't
four a
know.
game. So it's a
Yeah,
combination of
I
things,
guess
but
so. And then yeah,
so we'll see how they shake out. I do think that they're going to figure it out enough to probably be a top four team going into the East playoffs, and then like I said, I don't think any teams are going to really challenge them probably in the first round unless they drop down to four, because the bottom of the East just I don't think they're complete enough to really outscore those top three, four guys on the Knicks. But after that, they'll have a little bit of issue with some better teams like Boston, maybe Toronto, and a couple others in the East. Maybe even Cleveland gives
I
them
think
some trouble.
Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta's been looking decent.
I think Atlanta could give some problems.
Yeah,
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 yeah, I
they've.
think they could be good. But I don't know. I just think that I picked this roster. I picked the Knicks. I think to get out of the East
Hmm.
this year. Now I didn't expect Detroit to take the step that they did. I didn't expect Duran and Cade Cunningham to take the steps that they did. So now
Hmm.
looking back, like given what I know now, I think Detroit has a very clear path to go to the finals. Um, Given the Tatum stuff, I don't know if Tatum comes back and can play solid minutes or whatever, then that changes kind of everything. But
Hmm.
I think that they got a pretty good. They're as long as no injuries, they'll be fine. They'll make it all. I think they're getting to the finals easy.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say easy, but I do think they've got a good path lined up for them if things go in their direction. So I wouldn't. It was more facetious to say are they cooked, but just the way they've looked lately, it's like at least they've been put on the grill or in the preheated oven or something. Like you cooked them a little bit, but they're not done
Oh
yet.
yeah. Oh, they're in the pan.
They're trying to get out. They're trying to escape.
Yeah. So we can go on to the next question you have here. Talking about kind of what teams should be doing, getting ready for the playoffs and stuff. We have the trade deadline coming up February 5th, I believe, or 6th.
Is the fifth?
I think it's the 5th. Um, yeah, I think it's the 5th, right? And
Yeah.
then do you have any you know inklings? Other than I mean, I guess you want to point out players like do you think Davis gets traded? Do you think Kaminga gets moved? Do you like are any of these big name guys are they on the move? The players like that.
I do think probably all three of those I think will get moved. I think it's a matter of where, which it's a good question because we can speculate a bunch on who's going where and what, but I'm trying to think of teams that really need pieces rather than like obviously we know as Mavericks fans we kind of need to move on from Davis at some point, and we'd rather do it now than later because we can get some return for him or try to develop other players the rest of the year and just kind of be done with where we're at. So on the flip side, there's teams that what do they need to make that next step in the playoffs, like a Detroit or maybe a Boston wants to target a big guy so that they don't have to roll out who they've been rolling out there. Uh, Teams that are kind of on the fringe, that they're definitely going to make the playoffs or they're on track to, but really need that extra piece. So, obviously Davis is a big player in that, and Morant can be too, but I don't necessarily see those guys getting targeted by big teams unless they'd be willing to move a piece in return, if that makes sense. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but it seems like they'd have to be taking on a pretty good salary to make that work.
I think I think the Davis thing is hard, and this is because I follow the team every day. I think it's really difficult for the Mavs to move him at this point because he's going to be out for 6 weeks with that hand injury. I guess he's now probably now another month. Um,
Yeah.
and so, and that's just saying that best case scenario, he comes back in 6 weeks. And a team like Atlanta, who was super into Davis, they need a player now because they're 500 right now,
Hmm.
or a little less, a little below 500, I think. they need to make a push now. And Davis coming back 6 weeks from now or a month from now, that's not going to help them get to a spot that they need to. Um, and so then you turn to Golden State, who is still in the playoff hunt. They're right in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of everything. They're only a couple games away from being out, but only a couple games from moving up. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
really tight there. Um, they could look at it, but who on the Warriors do you want? Like, okay, cool. Butler for Davis is 1-1, and everybody keeps talking about this Butler for Davis, just straight up swap, or kind of the Mavs would get some picks back or something, which could be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't see why you would want Jimmy Butler, who's not going to play for another 12 months,
Mm-hmm.
and by then he's on an expiring deal. So it's like I don't know why the Mavs do that, other than building future assets because they don't have any.
Yeah, yeah,
So I just
that's a
don't
good
see I don't
point.
see a Davis trade happening. And as far as the other guys, I don't see John Morant is not a playoff winner. If I'm being honest, like teams know that. Teams know that. They know that he doesn't really impact playoff wins. So it's like the Heat or somebody that he is named, and I don't see why he would go there. I don't see why the Heat would want a guy like that. Um, they need more floor spacing than anything, so
Yeah,
he's not going to do that for you.
yeah, unless you're talking about clearing out a room because of gunfire. But I think the Heat are really going to need
Yeah.
a piece that, like you said, they're another good fringe example that I was kind of looking for. Of they could really make one move and be in that top four tier of the East. So, a player like they don't really need a center. So Davis may not be a good fit for them, or Vucevic or somebody like that. But if they can find some scorer that is going to be a six-man type player, or somebody to kind of account for some of the scoring that they've lost with Hero kind of having a relatively lost season. Guys that like that. I don't think Morant really fits that bill, like you said, but trying to think of any other players that are movable that have come up in conversation that I could see like Trey Murphy's name's been on the list. I know the Pelicans are pretty high on keeping him,
Yeah.
but somebody like that where it'd take a little bit, but it could
For
really help a
what?
team. Well, yeah, yeah, that's true.
For what? What are they keeping a guy like that for? Like, I know that they think that they can be great, but like they don't have a first round pick next year, and so so you just run it back again and like, hey, I guess we'll suck next year too, and then we'll like, oh, and then we'll be able to really move on. And then Trey Murphy's 2 years down the road. It's like him and Herb. They were like, there was a report that came out that said like, this fan or somebody was like, oh, they can't trade Herb. He's the culture. What culture are they building there? The culture, the losing kind? That's a
Yeah,
great culture. That's great.
yeah.
I
I mean, I love Herb Jones,
don't
but
know what.
yeah, if Herb Jones is your culture, you're in a
Yeah,
tough spot, unfortunately.
yeah. It's just what. There's no culture there. They don't have a culture. Herb Jones is great. I would love him on the Dallas Mavs right now. But like, or any team, any contender, I would love to have Herb Jones. But what, like, I guess the Pelicans are gonna just stick until they can get a top pick, I guess, or something. I don't know what they want.
Well, no, because then they just traded away for whoever fits the bill at that given time in the draft. Derek Queen's the latest example, but I could see them easily doing that. I mean, to get DeJounte Murray or to get Jordan Poole or all these guys that are, they have potential to be good, but they've kind of already proven that they only work if they're the one guy. And even then, they're still questionable. Like you can put up as many triple doubles or stats as you want, but you're not leading your team to wins, and that's really what matters. And so it's just a team full of
Right.
those guys, other than, like you said, maybe Murphy and Jones, and that's why they're the culture guys. But everybody else on that team is just unproven, or their potential has failed, and they're on their way out eventually. And that includes Zion.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the whole thing about the Pelicans is the first move they're going to make is they got to get rid of Zion before they can do anything. They got to know what assets they have after their biggest asset is gone, and then you can look back and be like, well, this is what we can do. We should probably keep her because of this. We'd probably keep Trey Murphy because we got this. Like he'll be our number one guy, even though I don't think he's a number one. I think he's more of like in a Cam Johnson situation where Cam Johnson goes to the Nets and has great numbers, but on a good team, he plays a very good role, and that's where he's going to excel.
Yeah, that's totally fine. That's kind of what these teams are looking for, and so I wish that they would consider moving on from him because one, he deserves it to have a better opportunity to win, but two, these other teams they need it and they're willing to give up. I feel like what the Pelicans might want, which is picks and or expiring contracts or things like that, where they have some flexibility, but they just seem very adamant that they're not trying to move. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. Um, there was a rumor that goes out that the Mavs might be interested in moving or not interested in, but will they could move Najee, and I love Najee Marshall. I think he's great. He's playing great right now. He's another one of those guys that I swear it's just like he's on a team that's bad, and so somebody's gonna score. The Mavs are gonna score every night 100 points, and that 100 points is gonna come from somewhere, and Najee's it right now.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. I don't know on a absolute contending team. Does he still produce the way he does? I think so. I like him. I like his cutting ability. I like his finishing in the paint. That floater is unstoppable. His shooting is atrocious, and it's going to get exploited in the playoffs.
Yeah, which I think is probably the
So I don't
fear
know. I
that
just don't know what teams are going to be going after him.
yeah, I think that's the fear with the teams that want to come after him is that I mean, he plays great when he's got 30 minutes and no one else taking the shots, but his three-point shooting is really what you want to be at a higher level and it's unfortunately not. I mean, I think he's in the low 30s, which is not terrible, but in order to make that move to give up something or,
I,
something along that lines, I don't think he's going to be worth it in the long run for them.
I'm going to see. I'd be shocked if he was in the low 30s for percentage wise. Let's see. This year he is shooting. Yeah, you're right. 31.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
31% from three.
Yeah. Which again
Yeah,
is serviceable.
On 0.9 3-pointers made a game.
We'll see there it is the volume that
low volume.
yeah.
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 He had one season. Where he shot 38% on, again, only one 3-pointer made a game. So he just doesn't shoot the ball. That's as simple as that. He doesn't shoot the ball because he's probably just not a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah. Yeah, so as much as we like him currently with Dallas, it's like, well, those are kind of pieces that you should be able to move or willing to move in those situations and hope that, people want some sort of role player like that to help their bench in the playoffs or help, get them to the next spot. Like in Atlanta probably wouldn't go for him,
Yeah.
but, some team like that where they just need a little bit more firepower.
Yeah, I think it's hard. Like we bring up trade deadline stuff. It's we're getting to the point where we're 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. Nothing is going to happen until that day, and then that day, who knows who's going to be available? It's just one of those things that rumors come out of nowhere. And Davis ends up getting traded to the Wizards, and who knows what's going to happen? Like it's just teams start to get desperate, and so they'll start throwing the house at players.
Yeah, it's always a fun time of year.
I love NBA trade deadline day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get out the popcorn
Yeah, get your Twitter notifications on.
Yeah. Well, in that spirit, trying to think of players that, move the needle a little bit for either team. I thought we'd do just one each of a who would you rather scenario, whether that's, it could be fantasy related. It could be just on your team roster construction for, a dynasty or whatever. Like just pick one player versus one player. Give me a comparison kind of off the cuff too.
Yeah, so I don't think it's hard. Like I was trying to think. So like, okay, this is what I came up with. Who would you rather have on your team, dynasty league? Victor Wembanyama or Anthony Edwards?
Okay, is this
Because
fantasy?
and the reason why I think this would be tough is because this is fantasy. Yes, we'll go fantasy.
Okay. Any other constraints on the fantasy
I,
league?
yeah. No, I mean it's just straight like dynasty league. Let's just. I think I said that. Um, it's just you have to deal with the injury bug of Victor Wembanyama, which Anthony Edwards not injured, so you have to take that into account. We're taking up anything. Like you can't just be like, oh well, Victor Wembanyama is going to be healthy for the next 4 years. Like no, you have to take into the fact that he is probably going to get hurt every single year.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And assuming standard scoring, everything across the board, just very typical. I
Yes.
do think I think it's a pretty good question because I mean the main concern, obviously, with Wemby is injury, and he's not dealing with anything too major yet. But I mean, we see it all the time with these 7 footers. Like careers just don't last as long as you'd like them to. Thankfully, he doesn't have a lot of weight on his feet for the most part. Like a Yao Ming or who's the other guy recently that was a big guy that was dealing with some foot issues. I'm trying to think.
There's a lot like
Uh,
Greg Oden was one of them.
yeah, there's somebody in the league now
Yeah.
that is kind of dealing with that. I don't.
Derek Lively,
Well, yeah.
but
I mean,
he's on the skinnier side too. But yeah,
yeah. But you get my point. Is that it's always something of a concern,
yeah.
especially with aging, and if you're playing for another 10 years, like they're both very young. They're both in their early 20s. I think Ant's close to 25 now, but I mean, you're going to get another 10 years plus out of Ant, and it's tempting to think about taking Ant just because I do think he's going to play probably another 15 years or close to it, maybe 12, but his longevity is a lot more suited to last a lot longer. So if you're thinking at it from that perspective, I would probably lean Ant, but I think it's just so hard to pass up on Wemby because of his production year in and year out. Like if you're strictly from a fantasy perspective, you're probably going to get at least 10 points a game extra from Wemby. So if he plays, a couple less games that year, it'll probably, he'll probably still outweigh Ant in that side. But I would probably hold Wemby for the next, 4 to 5 years. And then at that point, maybe consider trading him and getting some pieces back from that. So it's kind of a fun question because I enjoy doing some dynasty leagues just to have a different flavor of fantasy. It adds a lot more management and it's not just volume driven or kind of just plug and play guys. It kind of makes you think a little bit more, take some risks, and not get too attached to your team, even though they're guys that you hold until you trade them or drop them. So it's kind of a fun element. We should try to do one of those some year.
No, I would love it. I've actually never done a fantasy dynasty league, so I think it'd be cool to do. Just like have the foresight, you kind of bet non players a little bit.
Yeah, I'm in one, and I think I've made like 3 or 4 trades this year, and all of them have involved draft picks as well. So you're kind of dealing with,
Mm.
hey, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 guys that they don't produce very much, but they're kind of role players, and I'm also going to give you 2 first round picks, one next year and one the year after that, or a first and a second round, because we do like a rookie draft too every year. So you get 3 rookie picks, and then you have to do your roster based on that. You have to drop 3 guys to fit them in. You usually just end up dropping most of the rookies other than your first pick, but you know, it's kind of a different element
Yeah.
that adds a little bit of, change to the typical fantasy approach. So I think from that perspective, Anthony Edwards, definitely his value comes a little bit more, almost close to par with Wemby. Not quite enough for me to not choose Wemby, but pretty close.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. I was trying to look around the league, because I wanted somebody who was injury prone, and I know Wemby is. And then I was like, well, maybe, you know, what superstar out there is not injury prone? And that's hard to find, honestly, because a
Yeah,
lot of superstars out there they get hurt pretty often. And Ant was the first one that came to my mind, so I was like, oh, that's a good one. But do
yeah,
you have one?
I do. Yeah, yeah. Good question. So mine's a little bit less fantasy related. It's just a who would you rather take as your so strictly as your point guard, and whole career is in play. It's not just 2008 Kobe or whatever. But uh, would you take Steve Nash or would you take Jason Kidd?
Oh,
I feel like they're pretty
oh
even.
man. I'm taking. For me, I think it's easily Kid. I think
Really?
you're, like, what do you get? What are you getting from Nash that you're not getting from Kid? Because Kid's a better, if not very equal to passer. He's a extremely good defender. I mean, he's one of the best perimeter defenders maybe ever considered. Steve Nash is horrible on defense. And then the shooting is where it's like, okay, well, I guess Steve Nash is a better shooter by far. But towards the end of Jason Kidd's career, he he was knocking them down pretty good and pretty good consistency or efficiency. So in that regard, like, yeah, maybe scoring you give to Nash, but I think you can find scoring elsewhere. Um, I think I'm just taking it based on passing and defense. I'm taking Kidd. Kidd's more all around, where Nash is like offense only, and then defense is almost a non-factor. He just is nothing over there.
Okay. No, that's a
So yeah,
good
I think
assessment.
that's
I
where I would
think
go with that.
to answer your question, what you get from Nash that you don't get from Kidd, it's that you get thrown into a scorer's table. But uh, what you get from Kidd
Oh,
that you don't get from Nash is the championships. So I think he made a good choice.
a
Well,
championship.
yeah, a championship. But well, I do think I prefer Nash overall as a player a little bit more. I think it's pretty comparable in what they were able to both do in their careers. I think, yeah, like you said, if you're looking more defensively minded, you're probably geared towards Kidd, and he's probably more of an all around player than Nash was. But I mean, Nash on the offensive end was just, I feel like the way he set up his teammates was just unparalleled from anybody that I've watched growing up, which obviously you could factor in some other names, Stockton or Westbrook or other point guards that have really
Yeah.
kind of become legends or were already legends before those guys. But all of them, very impressive in their own right. So I was just thinking about that this week. Like, man, those are both great, great point guards. So similar, but so different.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah. I mean, it's a great thing to think about. Like those two guys, you're right. They're very comparable. I mean, uh, you have a very offensive minded guy in Steve Nash, and you have a more defensive minded Jason Kidd. But Jason Kidd's passing is amazing, and so is Steve Nash's. But the thing about Steve Nash that I think is interesting is that he made careers. I mean, the
Hmm.
way he was able to just make Amari Stoudemire look like Jesus out there is great. It's just one of those things. Like, and then Amari Stoudemire moves on to the Knicks and to the Mavs and other places, and it's like he's not ever quite as good. Injuries had something to do with that too, but like
Yeah,
Steve Nash made him look awesome.
yeah, yeah. Him and Sean Marion really, but you're right. I think Kidd
Yeah.
probably had some better weapons around him than Nash might have had most of his career. Not every year, but for the most part, the Nets made a lot of good runs when he was there, and obviously played with the Mavs, and they had some talent. But uh, Nash didn't really have a lot to pull from. I mean, he's got Rajah Bell. Sean Marion was kind of the other one that he rose from the grave, and
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, not a lot of guys I can think of. I mean, he did have Joe Johnson for a couple years, so there's that. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it's a good one. But I think I'm going Kid. I think for sure. Um,
yeah,
I
we'll
got
we'll
one more
see.
for you if you're all right
Okay,
with
yeah,
that.
yeah, go for it.
Um, so this is just player for player right now. We're just talking which point guard would you rather have, Tyrese Maxey or would you rather have Tyrese Halliburton?
Oh man,
Tyrese's.
you gotta be
Now,
careful how you
now
say that.
this is not. I'll yeah, yeah. I'll put a parameter on this. We're gonna assume that Tyrese Halliburton comes back and is playing at or very close to the level he was playing before, which is young enough, and I think he will come back and play similar. He's not an athletic, phenom, so it's not like his game is going to be that affected by this injury. I don't think.
Yeah, man, that's a really tough question. I like them both a lot. Um, I mean, I feel like I'm drawn more towards Halliburton just based on personality and how much I enjoyed him. But then Maxie's kind of come out of his shell a little bit this year too. So I feel like we're seeing a lot of good elements of both of them. I think Maxie's definitely a better scorer than Halliburton is, but Halliburton's a better passer. And from at least for me, I tend to prefer a point guard that's a little bit more pass dominant and kind of setting up his teammates rather than a scoring point guard. And that's no shade at any scoring point guards. It's just that's kind of how I like my teams. Is maybe it's a little bit more traditional, but I feel like I probably would choose Halliburton for that reason, just as a solid distributor. And obviously Maxey's very good on the defensive end too, so he may be kind of more of the scoring and defender that you're looking for. So that's valuable as well. I don't think you can go wrong either way, but I think I'd be pulling for Halliburton to kind of lead my team for the next decade and setting people up. And if you have somebody like him that could be like a Nash or a Kid that doesn't have to be the greatest scorer or the highest percentage shooter, but he's just putting his teammates in the right spots, he can make anybody very reasonable or very good on his team. That I think Maxey is standalone better, but as a teammate, I'd probably choose Halliburton.
Yeah, I think that's what I would go to. I think I like my point guards to be more pass focused. I'm with you on that. I think that otherwise you have to find it somewhere else, and
Mm-hmm.
that can be difficult to do, to find a two guard or something that fits that. I also like, I mean, not that Maxi's small, but I like the length and size of Halliburton. I know
Mm-hmm.
defensively let's see, he averaged 1.4 steals and 0.7 blocks last year. Halliburton did. So like, I'm fine
That's
with
pretty
that
solid.
defensive stats. Like it's fine. He's not a traffic cone out there. He's long. He gets in the way. I'm not gonna say he's like a defensive stopper by any means, but
Yeah.
I also am interested to see Maxi hasn't been able to prove in the big games that he can do it. I mean, Halliburton showed you last year that like he has got the gene, like he has got the clutch gene. He's got the I want the moment, I want the big games, I want all this stuff. Like he wants it, and he looked like they talk about it. He looked like he was going to score 40 in that game seven. I mean, he came
Yeah.
out on fire. And then, unfortunately, everything happens the way it happens, and that's history. But I'm interested to see this year if Philadelphia can put themselves in a good spot if Tyrese Maxey can prove that. But I know you're getting it from Halliburton, so I think that's why I kind of go that way.
Yeah. No, great question though. That's two people I definitely would want to build my teams around moving forward. So kind of at their not even in their prime
Yeah,
yet, but
yeah, yeah. No, it's good. I think our next one we
kind of
we
already
kind of
addressed that one, huh?
did that one, the dynasty question.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll go down to the last two questions, which are two that once again I said my wife came up with, and so we'll see. They're interesting. They're kind of thought provoking a little bit. Question one is if you had guys like if you had Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, and Magic Johnson in today's league, would they be as successful as they were in their time?
Oof, man. Uh, I feel like it's the age old question, right? Comparing eras, and it's not even a Jordan and LeBron comparison, which is kind of nice. I like that it's inclusive of other stars from that era. But I don't know. I think
Yeah.
most of me says no, but I think also I didn't really watch those players growing up, and so to see how their game would translate, it's obviously a much faster game nowadays. I mean, math supports that. All the stats show that possessions are up and scoring's up and everything. But as far as those athletes in the past, like who's to say they couldn't rise to the occasion and play a faster game? I mean, I feel like Jordan could dominate anybody. So to say that, and I mean, obviously Magic Johnson, he led the Showtime Lakers and kind of revolutionized the game at that point to where they were on the fast break. So it's not that I don't think they can play the style of game that's played now. And in fact, they probably played it really well in compared to how they're playing it now, where, I mean, they didn't even have the 3-pointer until, what was it, the late 70s or early 80s, to where, I mean, their game just had to
Yeah.
evolve so much to where, I mean, Jordan probably would have led the NBA in threes if that was a thing, you know, 10 years prior to where, you know, you knew how to play that style of basketball. So maybe that's a stretch, but I do feel like they would have adjusted pretty well. I don't know if they'd be at the, you know, I think Jordan would still be at the top. I don't know about Bird just because he's not quite as athletic, but I mean, the dude could score almost at will. So he was pretty
Yeah.
magical, and obviously Magic could get the ball to anybody and could score on his own too. So I do feel like they translate well. It's just a matter of, are they going to be top 5 players in the league now based on that style? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think for Michael Jordan, I think he would thrive. I think he would be just unstoppable in this league. I mean, he was unstoppable in the league that he played, the era that he played in. And
Hmm.
this era is more spread open, less physical. You know, there is nothing that he wouldn't be able to do. He would dominate, I think. As far as Magic goes, his passing is just insane. So, like, his passing would have translated no matter what. The
Yeah,
floor is more open. But and he could score, but he wasn't a scoring threat, I wouldn't say. Um, I think that teams would make he couldn't shoot. I think teams would make him shoot, which I'm sure they did back then. I didn't watch a lot of '80s basketball, you know, like the whole game. I know the highlights and stuff, but um, I'm sure they tried to force him to shoot, and he just didn't. He was able to work around it. Um, the biggest question is Larry. I think I want to say he's one of my favorite. He's probably the second favorite player of all time.
really.
Um, I just don't know his athletics. Yeah, yeah, I love Larry Bird. I love his stories. I love the way he played. I love that. He's great. I just wonder if his athleticism would have held him back a little bit, especially because I feel like players today are more athletic than they were back then. He's not playing against slow, heavy-footed big men. You know, like the big guys around the rim are blocking a lot more shots now than I think they were back then.
Yeah, yeah, probably so. But then I think, like, I mean, Dirk was not the most athletically gifted player, and he made a career out of, you know, shooting the ball. And Larry Bird certainly could shoot
All
as good as
right.
Dirk, if not slightly better. So, and created his own shot quite a bit, you know, with, like you said, this league is a lot less physical. I feel like Bird was a pretty physical player to where he kind of got to his spot and knew what he wanted to do with the ball. So I think he would survive just fine. I think it's more, again, is he in that top 5 of this era? Probably not, but I could still see top 10 pretty comfortably. I see Magic Johnson as like a modern day Russell Westbrook, to where, you know, Westbrook can't really shoot that well. He'll have some scoring streaks like that. Obviously, they're slightly different in their style
Yeah.
of play. Westbrook's more downhill, get to the rim than Johnson was, but similar style. I could see Magic taking on uh, kind of maybe more early Russ rather than, you know, late Thunder Rockets Russ.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's true. I want to preface this by saying, and we're talking about three of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah,
Like considered probably all three are probably in the top 10 of players of all time. So like, I think that if when you're talking about the upper echelon of players like this, like I think they're playing great in any era that
yeah,
they play in.
yeah.
the athleticism of players nowadays. Especially, my thing is that the big men in this era
Hmm.
are just leaps and bounds more athletic than any era that has been. Even Dirk's era. Even when you talk about Dirk and like, yeah, he was more of a mid range shooter and that kind of thing. But like, he was still playing against centers that just didn't jump. Like they weren't jumping like they are now. And couldn't move their feet like they do now. And so if you were quick of foot, you could easily get past big men back then. And so it's just not as easy as now as it was back then. But that's kind of the only factor that would be interesting to see how Larry and how Magic. Now Jordan's one of the most athletic players of all time, so I think he has no issue. But
Yeah.
um, Larry and Magic, I think, are guys that would struggle a little bit more around the rim than they did back then.
Yeah. The one other player that came to mind that I thought would do really well in today's era is Hakeem Olajuwon. I just feel like he was so technical
Oh,
and so like just I mean, the dude, Mutombo, he's got the finger wag, right? I'm like, imagine having more blocks by like 600 than the guy who's got the finger wag as his thing. Like, that's insane. And the
yeah.
fact that he was also such a good scorer and
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's teaching Wemby now and like everybody aspired to be Hakeem. It's just he didn't have the longevity that some of these other guys had, but he was a big man that could jump and could score, could do it all. So I feel like his game would really translate
Mm-hmm.
well into today's, day and age because he could be physical and he could be athletic.
The only pushback I have to that is the way the game's played now, where 3 point shooting is so dominant that like guys like Hakeem and Shaq and stuff. I mean, teams are if that's your number one, you're gonna go to him pretty much every time like they did back then. Uh, Teams are gonna outshoot you, and they're just gonna shoot. For every two you shoot, they're gonna shoot a three, and eventually they're gonna outpace you. Now, I think that he still scores 25 plus a game and stuff like that. It's just is that going to translate to winning? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the only question I have about putting a big man from back then back in here like Kareem and Bill Russell, and Bill Russell was more of a defensive guy than I would say offensive guy, but I think that players big men like that it's harder to see like how they would fit and how a team would build
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah, probably so. But I mean, with his touch, it's like I'm sure that guy could figure out how to shoot the 3-pointer at, 33% clip at least, if not 35.
Oh, I'm
But,
sure.
you know, but you're right. It definitely is harder to compare the big guys versus the more athletic guys. But great
Oh,
question
absolutely.
nonetheless.
Um, yeah, it was good. And then the last question that she came up with, and I'm it's an interesting one too. She's a psychologist. She's a therapist, but like, she thought he had a question of has social media made fans more player focused than team focused? So the way she prefaced this is, do fans nowadays, because of Instagram and TikTok and all these other social media outlets, um, they follow guys like Devin Booker or KD or whatever. They become a fan of KD, and then whatever team KD is on, that's all of a sudden who they're supporting. So
Mm,
local fan bases have now shrunk because fans are now focused just on, like, Dallas is a big example. I know we always, it's just always hard to not talk about him, but Luca, like a lot of Dallas fans lost their fandom to the Mavs because they were fans of Luca, where previously back in, before social media and before a player him as a person, before you'd be like, well, it kind of sucks, but I still want to support this team, and I can't really get a lot of content now that he's in LA, so you lose track of him. So that's interesting. That's where kind of she was going with that.
yeah, no, that's a great more psychological perspective on it because I think it's easy for us, maybe more as I know she likes basketball, but maybe not as a diehard fan for the last 2 decades of a team. Like to kind of consider those nuances to that
Right.
question, because at least for me, my first thought was, well, in the NBA, not so much, because at least for us, like we've been Mavs fans for, like I said, 20 years, and you just kind of stick with your team based on not even where you live. I mean, I lived in Southern California, and it's probably the only Mavericks fan in where I grew up. But you just kind of stick with that
Mm.
team, even if I didn't live in Dallas until I was, 22. So almost 2 decades of fandom before even moving here. So it's, I think there's a yes and a
Right.
no element. I do think the player, like the way you learn the player or who they are and what they're like, and kind of more of the emotional side of things is heightened because of social media. You get to see a lot more access into their lives, and um, like you said, I don't think you'd be as sad if, oh, so and so got traded. It's like, oh well, yeah, he played for us for 3 years and he only averaged 8 points, so he's just kind of a role player, like whatever. But if you get to know Dorian Finney-Smith, you're like, oh wow, this guy's awesome. Like super loves the
Mm.
community, and he contributes to the team. He's good buddies with
Yeah.
Luca. Like I see him do this stuff off the court. It's like, or Boban. Like nobody would ever known who Boban is without social media or
True.
going to the game, right? So I feel like the legends nowadays are more born out of that social media. If you don't have kind of the legendary talent, so it kind of evens the playing field as far as who's getting that access into the spotlight, whether on the court or off the court, to where you can kind of become more fans of players. But that being said, I still think the team dominates. Kind of everybody's ultimate fandom is the team, but they may still be like, I'm still a fan of
Yeah.
LeBron. I'm not really a Lakers fan, but I still root for LeBron. But I'm going to pick the Mavericks over LeBron if that
Right.
happens.
No, for sure. I think a good example of this is so my dad grew up in San Antonio, and he is a big. I mean, he's like number one. They traded Luca, and he was like, it does. He loves basketball and he loves the Mavs now that he lives in Dallas. But
Mm-hmm.
when he grew up, he was a Spurs fan because at that time, and there was no other option. You watched the Spurs games, or you didn't watch any games, and
Yeah.
so like you became a fan of the Spurs. And like he said, he doesn't care that Luca has just had another daughter or that whatever. Like he doesn't care that Jason Tatum's kid Deuce is like all over social media. He doesn't care about that stuff. He cares about the fact that did the guys wearing blue beat the guys wearing the other colors. That's what he
Yeah.
cares about. And so like that's just an era thing. Like he grew up in that time where like you rooted for the team because that's all you had. That's all the option that was there.
Yeah.
And so nowadays like I was more hurt by the Luca trade than he was. He was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, great. You're wearing the right uniform. That's what matters. And for me, I was like, yeah, but like you don't know, like he just bought a house. He just closed on a house a week ago before he got traded. So like all this stuff and like, but he didn't know any of that stuff because he doesn't care. All he cares about is guys wearing blue or white, and that's what matters.
Yeah, it's definitely a generational
And so it's
thing
funny.
too.
It's funny to think about.
Yeah, definitely interesting, because
Yeah.
I think the younger crowd might lean a little bit more like us, and then there's some middle ground in there, but it's not cut and dry. It's definitely kind of who you were raised on and where you live now, and kind of a bunch of factors. But it's definitely, I think she should commission a study on this and get some more data.
She went in a little bit when she was asking me this question. She went a little bit further. She was like, "Oh, it's like a whole psychological study you could do about." I don't know. She went in and I kind of zoned out a little bit because she gets in the weeds, and I'm not a
uh,
psychological person. So,
I don't
but
know.
she's interested in it, so it's funny.
Well, tell her to keep the questions coming, because they're really carrying our show the last couple weeks. So it's leading to a lot of good fan interaction, and
They're
I mean,
interesting.
I think we've gotten more comments since she's participated. So
Yeah, I said, oh, you ought to come on the show, and she was like, I don't think so. That's
Eventually,
all you
we'll
have to do is ask us questions. You just ask us the most outlandish questions you can think of,
yeah, and just give
and
us a minute to respond, and we'll go through the list.
yeah, it'd be funny. It'd be fun. I'll keep cracking away.
Oh yeah, we'll keep the mailbag is always open. So I feel like it leads to a lot of good discussions and
Yeah,
definitely a lot of good feedback on our YouTube page and some other pages. Just getting people to respond is it's been fun to kind of go back and forth with them and kind of we'll keep the stats
yeah,
coming and some of the pickups and those types of things too, fantasy wise. But I enjoy a lot of just talking about basketball, hearing what
yeah,
people think.
for sure. Yeah, please, like anybody that listening, please leave a comment. If you have any questions, we'll answer them. We'll bring them onto the podcast at any point, and we'll message you back as soon as we see it. If we miss it, then we'll we shouldn't because I have notifications set up and we're checking it often. So uh, we'll just we can just chit chat about stuff, man. We love basketball. We love all kinds of comment. We talk about fantasy a lot, but like Ben said, like for 30 years now, I've watched basketball. So
Man, you're
man, I
watching it
love
in the
it.
womb?
Love
That's
talking about it.
crazy.
In the womb, man. In the womb. I was like, yeah, my dad has this story about when my sister was born. He was in the waiting room watching the Cowboy game, and then they were like, "Hey, your daughter's being born, buddy." And he runs back there and he wanted, the birth and blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Is it?" He said, "Is it done?" The doctor was like, "Yeah, it's done." And he went whoop, right back out to the thing and
Oh
watched
my gosh, that's great.
watched more Cowboys.
More go blue team.
Yeah, 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 go blue team, blue and seafoam green.
Yeah, he's got a color. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's good. Um, but anyway, yeah, it was a great show. I think. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's it for today. I'm sure we'll get back into a little bit more. We'll probably do some cop shop drop next week. Check in on how we did about a month ago now,
Yeah,
and see where we're at with that. And then, yeah, I mean, especially with the trade deadline coming up, not next week, but the week after, we'll probably keep our eyes on that and see what's coming up next. But yeah, just having some fun talking about basketball, and if there's any other topics you guys want covered, we're happy to talk about them. But we'll have a good program lined up next week.
yeah, yeah. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, leave us questions, leave us comments about what we say. If you don't agree, let us know. We love to chit chat about it and see different perspectives and stuff. And if we're wrong about something, we'll let you know. But we're definitely gonna fight you tooth and nail until we're proven wrong. But that's for sure.
Yeah, we're coming for you, White Lightning on YouTube.
Uh,
Ace Bailey is
but
not having a good year. I don't care what you say.
no, hey, listen, I told him right away that we're not talking about future. He could be great, who knows? But like right now, he's not good.
No, that's funny. We'll keep it coming though.
Yeah, but all right, everybody, y'all have a good week. If you're in the Texas area, really, I think this storm is pretty much
Yeah,
nationwide.
it's
But
like half the
if you're
states.
if you're in it, yeah, if you're in it, stay safe, and we'll catch you next week. Given hopefully everybody has power.
Absolutely, yeah. Everybody take care. See ya.